Hello, everybody. We're welcoming back Ted Savransky to SBR Videos, and we're talking about Kentucky versus Kansas. And that's right, Ted's out in Las Vegas. He's a professional sports bettor, and Ted has some very good insight on this college basketball game. Kentucky, it seems they're starting to find their groove. They're getting some momentum. Kansas isn't playing their best basketball whatsoever, having lost and won the last 5 games, bouncing back and forth. Ted, first and foremost, glad to have you back with us. I know Vegas has got to be picking up momentum and action on its own with Super Bowl and everything else. Kentucky, Kansas, what are your thoughts on this game, and who do you like to take home the ticket, to cash the ticket, for the gamblers tonight?
Yeah, current number, we're looking at Kansas 5.5-point home favorites in most locations. Total sitting about $1.48. There is some variance off that. You can find some -5s. You can find some -6s, depending on which side you like. The total I've seen as high as $1.49, but let's call it 5.5, 148 at the current numbers, and that has been with a little bit of Kansas money this morning. There were 4.5s earlier today, so the money has come on the Jayhawks, and I don't disagree with that. To say that Kansas got embarrassed by Kentucky last year is something of an understatement. What they have? They had 11. The Jayhawks had 11 made shots in a 40-minute game. They shot 19% from the floor, and they also missed a bunch of free throws. I mean, it was as bad as it gets. They were beat down. What was it, 72-40 in that contest? Obviously, a game they remember. We've seen some of these other non-conference revenge games against Kentucky not go well. Remember, the UCLA game certainly is one that stands out to me, where the Bruins were able to get some revenge on their home floor for an abysmal performance against the Wildcats last year. But, and there's a big but in this game, right now, it's pretty clear to me that Kentucky appears to have turned the corner. Kansas, a very talented team, probably every bit as talented as Kentucky. If you're going to grade out these players individually, you're not going to get a huge power rating difference between these two teams. So Kansas has a talent to match up with Kentucky, but boy, they have been an overvalued commodity. You know how many point spreads this team's covered since beating Baylor in the 2nd of January? They covered once for the entire month. 0-5 ATS their last 5, and a lot of it's because on the defensive end, Jayhawks aren't getting the job done.
Wow. And they had won 13 in a row, Ted, before going on that, back and forth, winning and losing. And normally I would think revenge would play huge into this, because I did some research, and I remember the game. They were flat out embarrassed. It was embarrassing also to watch it. It was a hard game to watch. But do they have enough revenge factor to tackle a team that, like you said, has seemingly turned that corner, and they have just amped up their momentum, and they're playing with confidence? I mean, Calipari literally said, we're playing with desperation right now. We're playing with an attitude that we cannot lose, and that was verbatim, and I read that this morning. So I kind of like what they're doing. I think 5.5, I don't know, man. I like Kentucky, and I wouldn't be surprised of an outright victory. What do you think about an outright victory?
Now, see, this is where we have to really start to think about what these two teams are capable of doing. All right, Kansas on this floor, they've been alternating wins and losses. They're still perfect on this floor this year. They've yet to lose at home. I'm not sure they're going to lose at home. Kentucky, we saw we remember the UCLA game. We remember the Ohio State game away from home. And we remember the LSU game where they got annihilated in Baton Rouge. Well, since that time, they had the one loss at Auburn, and Auburn's, a muck-it-up kind of a team that's capable of beating Kentucky and capable of losing by 20 to Missouri. I mean, they're just, one of those type of squads. But the thing that has impressed me the most about Kentucky during this span, the road win at Alabama, comfortable double-digit road win, and then they did it again at Arkansas, where wire-to-wire job, a very young team showing signs of maturity. The concern I have here for Kentucky, again, you look at these aggregate stats over the course of the season, and man, they played some bad offensive basketball in hostile environments. And I talked about Kansas and their defense not being at an elite level in recent weeks, and it certainly wasn't in the loss to Iowa State during the week. But heck, Iowa State's capable of doing that. We saw that on the road against Oklahoma State. The defense wasn't there, and against West Virginia, the defense wasn't there. By and large in those 3 contests, certainly the first 2. But on this floor, we haven't seen anyone take it to Kansas defensively. So, I have a slight lean here towards the Jayhawks, and it really is slight. At the current number, I have no Kansas in my pocket. But I do worry about those aggregate offensive stats for Kentucky. They have played some bad offensive basketball in hostile environments.
And yes, Ted, those are some very valid points. I like especially Kentucky, a young team, and I think they have turned that corner. But now the true road test comes, and like you said, on Kansas's home floor, it's not going to be easy. I think what determines this game is the coaching. Can Calipari get in the heads of his players enough to say, hey, look, these last two games, which, by the way, they covered easily, and it turned my head. They just started blowing these opponents out the last couple games. Now, is he capable of getting in their head saying, let's build on this, this is who you are, and you can dominate this team? Or does Bill Self get in the heads of his players and say, look, this is where we straighten this ship out again, and let's go on a nice, another 10-game winning streak, and this is the team we need to do it again. So it remains to be seen, and that's why they play the game. I know for me, I'm going to kick back and pop a cold one and enjoy this ball game tonight.
It should be a lot of fun to watch, but again, a slight lean towards Kansas, but this is not a game where I have any money involved coming out of my pocket.
Yeah. And let's not forget, these are the two winningest programs in Division I history, so there's a lot to be said about that. Two very well-coached teams. Ted, well, thanks so much for being with us, and most importantly, I hope you beat the book bad this weekend. I look forward to getting back with you on Monday.
I'd like to beat the book good this weekend if I could. Thank you.